I don't want the copyright issues. All right, guys, welcome to a special. This is about these things just keep getting more and more special. I love this because I get to bring on my friends from the world of MMA. I've got a couple of special guests here today that I'd love to introduce to you folks. Are you ready? Do you want to see this? Okay, here we go. On one side, holding the majestic blue lightsaber for his website, MMA Fighting. From watch-alongs to BTLs, the force is strong with this one. Rebellions are built on hope. So will he lead MMA fans into it today? Help us, Obi-Wan Heck. Help us.
I have no words to even clap back to that intro. It was an incredible job. I don't know how I'm getting introduced first in this lineup of all-stars. I just don't understand how I get first. But maybe we're just saving the best for last. If that's the plan, then you did it right. Thank you for having me again.
Well, oops, just spoiled it. Well,
you gave it away.
That's okay. Oh no, am I upside down again? I don't know why I keep doing this.
While you try to figure that out, Beneil, let me introduce you.
Let me see if I can figure it out. So
on the other side,
okay.
We know this man has the force, one of the top-ranked lightweights in the world. Did you know he drove this show through the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs? He has a sexy smile and a great Richard Gere hairstyle. We got the one and only Beneil Dariush in the house.
What's up, guys?
We got to fix this. What is this?
Is the camera good, or am I still messed up now?
You're still messed up, brother. Keep working on it.
Wait, I'm still upside down? How is that possible?
Nah, your portrait. There we go. Hold on.
There we go. All right. That's better.
Okay, well, it's good to have you guys on the program, man. I'll tell you, Submission Radio Live, things are going to go wrong. Throw your questions in the comment section later on in the program because May the 4th is coming up. Me and the boys are going to go through our top 3 Star Wars movies, worst ones as well. So feel free to throw those in the comments as well. But Beneil, I want to go to you first, man, because a big fight in the lightweight division was just booked. Dustin Poirier, man, I wanted to see you fight him, dude. But obviously now it looks like he will be fighting Max Holloway. This will be his last fight. We know both men have had a history together. There's all sort of milestones that included in their careers. What was your reaction when you said, all right, that's going to be the final one? I know you mentioned it to me briefly when we interviewed, but what did it feel like when you saw that's it? That's going to be the one for Dustin to go out on.
I mean, in terms of the rankings and the division, it just doesn't make sense. They fought twice before. But as far as, it's his last fight, and is it a fight that he can win? Of course it is. He's won twice before. I think it makes sense for him. I don't know if it makes any sense rankings wise, but that's never an issue. And I think the fight can sell. The fight will sell, I think, most likely, because they're both very popular guys and they're very loved. Bro, it's not me. I don't know what you guys are doing. I haven't moved or touched anything. Look at that. Can I keep it like this or no?
We'll keep working through it as we go. Let's keep it like that for now, Beneil. I think they might see. Do you have anyway, we'll figure it out as we go. Mike, what do you reckon? What do you reckon though? Is that obviously a lot of us wanted to see this fight happen again, but would you have rather seen Dustin Poirier fight someone else, you reckon, to finish it out? I saw Dustin Poirier, guys, by the way, mentioned he wanted to try to fight Justin Gaethje. He kind of brought up Ilia Topuria. You reckon Max Holloway's the one, Mike?
Yes, because
special guest, by the way. Look at this.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm distracted. I disagree with Beneil under just one thing. The rankings shouldn't matter at all in this equation. In fact, I think this is the perfect fight because it does not disrupt the current championship conversation whatsoever. If you throw Dustin in there with Ilia Topuria, yes, Dustin is going to be an underdog heading into that fight. But if for some reason Dustin Poirier wins that fight, he knocks Ilia Topuria out of title contention. He takes that fight with Islam Makhachev right off the table immediately, and he just rides off into the sunset. There's no payoff from Dustin beating Ilia Topuria, and you could throw Justin Gaethje in that same conversation. I totally understand why fans would want to see a Poirier-Gaethje trilogy fight because both guys each have a win over the other. It would make a ton of sense. But Justin Gaethje, after beating Rafael Fiziev, fair or not, is in the championship conversation right now. He is a guy the UFC could call and say, hey, you want to fight Islam Makhachev in the main event of International Fight Week in 8 weeks? He would say yes. So if you throw him in there with Dustin, he's off the table too. So at least throwing Max in there, like if Max beats Dustin, there is a bit of a payoff there because you can use this win to catapult Max into another big fight, maybe even a title fight, depending on who's available and what the dates are that the UFC is trying to schedule. So I love it in that aspect because if Dustin beats Max, like it doesn't change anything. Like Max is back in the division. Yes, he has a ranking, but it's a weird ranking because he stepped up and he did knock out Justin Gaethje, and that's a really big deal. But people forget Max Holloway had options after he beat Justin Gaethje. He could have fought for the lightweight title. He could have stayed at lightweight, either fought in a #1 contender fight, maybe even got a title shot. Max's decision was, no, I'm going back down to 145. I'm going to fight Ilia Topuria. That's the fight I want. It's my choice. I choose that. So by him doing that, it knocks him out of the championship conversation for now, but he could certainly get back in if he beats Dustin Poirier. So I think with how the rankings are shaped up and the championship craziness up the top of this division, I think this is kind of the only fight you can make, if we're being honest.
Beneil, you look like you got some thoughts going there. I saw some head movement.
Yeah, I mean, I see what he's saying now. That does make sense. My only thing would be like these guys have fought already, right? Twice. So instead of having him fight Max, maybe have him fight someone who's a little bit further behind. And then that could put that person in title contention. I know he's teammates with Moicano and Gamrot, so I guess those two don't work. Myself, that would be somebody, or even like I don't know who else is in there. He's already fought Dan Hooker, but that was actually a spectacular fight. So I'm just thinking you could put somebody else in title contention. Max, whoever he fights next, will be in title contention. If Max, let's say he wasn't fighting Dustin and he fought somebody else and he wins his next fight, I think most people would say, hey, Max deserves a title shot. But yeah, that's my thing. You can use this as a pendulum for guys who are outside of the top 5 for an opportunity. But yes, I do agree. The fight makes a lot of sense for Max.
Yeah, and had he not fought Benoit Saint-Denis recently, I'd be with you on that. But he already took the step back, already gave the guy the chance to move up, and he thumped him. So, I mean, he is walking away. So usually look at what Anthony Smith just did. He just passed the torch to Min Yang Zhang. It was a heartbreaker to watch him get beat up like that. But that's just classic Anthony Smith. And I loved his attitude heading in, but yeah, this is just a different circumstance, Beneil, right? Like you getting that, like after Dustin beat Chandler, you and him made so much sense. Like that was the right fight to make at that time. And I'm still pretty shocked that it didn't happen. Like, was that like a super weird situation for you? Because he was asked straight up about that fight and he was just like, nah, don't really want to fight the guy.
He said one day, yeah, and then next day, no. I think, his team and like his people around him probably were like, you don't need this fight kind of deal. I think that's what took place because at the, was it like post-fight press conference? He was like all about the fight. And then the next day he was doing an interview, I think it was Ariel Helwani, right? And he's like, nah, the fight doesn't make sense. So in that, 12, 15 hours, my guess is his team got to him and said, hey, you don't need this fight. And that's kind of what took place.
But does that mean Dustin Poirier walks away with the BMF title, right, fellas? Like if he beats Max Holloway, that's it? Or are they going to just bring this bad boy back in another division? Like, what is the future of the BMF title with this fight if Dustin wins? What do you guys think? What do you think? What does your daughter think? Where's the BMF title going, Dariush?
I think the BMF title stays forever because it's such an easy sell. You just find 2 popular guys and you just, be like,
just
hey,
create new titles every time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for example, if Dustin wins, it gets retired and it comes back into play, right? I don't know with who, but it comes back into play. But if Max Holloway wins, obviously it's going to be his belt. So I think it's one of those things where you're never going to get rid of this belt.
Benil,
Yeah,
who?
remember Masvidal fought for like the one and only BMF title, like it was never gonna be defended. This is the only time this belt's gonna be on the line, and what is this, the fourth time? This is
The
the
Rock
third
came
time.
out. The Rock came
Yeah,
out
the
with
Rock
the
came out. I
belt.
was there. It was
You had
crazy.
to wear gloves.
And
You had to wear these little gloves to touch the belt. I was there as well. It was one of the most disappointing finishes in history. It was like, what happened?
That was epic, though.
Who is Justin Gaethje fighting, Benil?
That's a fantastic question. I don't know.
Who do we book him against, fellas? Mike, do you have any suggestions? Do you do Armin? Who do you do?
You're basically.
it depends. Yeah.
Yeah. You have two options, right? You can go with Armand or you can go with Dan Hooker again. I think those are really the two options because it seems Ilya's not interested in fighting Armand Sarukian for whatever reason. But he is, I think, interested in fighting Charles. Maybe I'm not sure. See, that's the thing. I don't know what you do with Charles Oliveira. Because if Armand ends up fighting, let's say Armand fights Justin Gaethje, then you could do Dan Hooker and Charles Oliveira, but then you leave Ilya out. You see what I mean? There's always going to be one guy.
There's Paddy Pimblett as well floating around, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Paddy just fought, and you guys know he likes to gain a lot of weight, so it would be a while before he comes back in.
Dan Hooker, Paddy Pimblett, maybe. I know you mentioned that, Benny.
I think for Paddy, that is the best fight. I think stylistically, that is the best fight for him because it's a fight where, Dan has power, but he's not one of those guys that typically knocks people out in one punch. He's done it before, don't get me wrong, but he's more of a like wear you down over the rounds and kind of win. And I think grappling wise, I think Paddy has a great advantage. And then I think he's good enough in the stand up where he could get the fight to the ground. So I do think stylistically, Dan Hooker and Paddy make a lot of sense.
But Mikey, how are you feeling right now about the build up to this UFC 317? Because are we all thinking that Islam is waiting to see what happens next weekend before the UFC is able to move forward? Is that what's going on? And if that's the case, do you think the scenario is Charles Oliveira in the wings to step in if Islam moves into this welterweight picture? And then that's UFC 317. What is the scenario, do you think, being played at the moment?
That's the scenario. If Jack Della Maddalena wins, Islam Makhachev is going up to 170. He's going to fight for the welterweight belt, and they'll do Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira for the vacant belt. Or an interim belt. It should be the vacant belt. No disrespect to Islam Makhachev, but I've been saying this forever. If you are a champion and you make the choice to move up or down a division to fight for a second belt, good on you, but you should have to vacate your other belt. It's just that simple. Then I think it just feels like you're risking something more because now you see guys just winning belts, and after they win the belt, they're at the post-fight press conference be like, yeah, man, I'm just a win away, and then I can go fight for the middleweight title or go fight for the light heavyweight title. I'm just
happens all the time now.
Because then you can come back.
Yeah.
And then they can just come back down and be like, well, if I lose, so what? Because I'm still the champion.
There's no risk.
Division.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Exactly.
There's no risk.
So Islam wants to move up. Fantastic. Go fight JDM. Go fight for the welterweight belt. But lightweight, in my opinion, is not only the best division in MMA, it is the toughest division in sports, the UFC lightweight division. We have to move this forward. We cannot do a vacant belt because look what's happening at heavyweight right now. Tom Aspinall has been the interim champion for freaking 2 years now. He's still waiting for John to fight. He might have to defend that title a second time while the champion is still actively on the roster right now. So interim belts are silly. We don't need it in this situation. So if Islam moves up, cool. Vacate the other belt. And if he loses and wants to come back down, he gets the first title shot. Whatever. But let's move this division forward. So, yeah, I think Charles Oliveira is probably the biggest Jack Della Maddalena fan on planet Earth right now. I think he needs Jack Della Maddalena to win on May 15th.
Dude. Oh, Benny, who's winning between Ilya and Charles if that is the fight?
That's a tough one because the size advantage makes a difference. And Charles is a big size lightweight. I know he used to fight 145. I honestly don't know how he made it to 145, but he's a good size lightweight, and I think that does, give him a lot of advantages. If we're speaking on skill sets, they're very similar. They both have a good grappling background, excellent jiu-jitsu guys. and then all of a sudden they started finishing people standing. There's a lot of similarities. Obviously,
Yeah.
the one big difference is where Ilia is a boxer, while Charles is a full Muay Thai style fighter, where elbows, knees, and just a dynamic striking game. Uh,
And Charles
I
does
would.
get hit, right?
He
He'll take
does
a
get
couple of
hit,
shots. Yeah.
and I think Ilia's power will transfer.
Mm.
I'll still go with Charles, just because of the size advantage, and he's so much taller.
All right. Mike, if that happens, let's say he goes up, Charles beats him, let's say he subs him or stops him. How much has that hurt the Ilia Topuria sort of train? Or is it a situation where you just go back down to 145 and continue business as usual?
I mean, it hurts. I think it hurts anybody if you lose, especially when you do what Ilia does. Because he talks himself into these really risky positions where if he loses, that it's just a horrible place for him. Like, look what he did before the Volkanovski fight. He already improved his record, already had himself on Instagram as the UFC featherweight champion like 8 weeks before the freaking fight. Like, his confidence is unbelievable. And when you bring that confidence to the table in the sport, the short term behind a loss is horrible. Like, it's real bad, but luckily this is MMA. And if he bounces back and fights an Armin or somebody like that and knocks him out, or fights Paddy Pimblett, which that fight would still very much be on the table and would still be massive. Like, it's almost like it's forgotten. That's just how quickly the news cycle changes. It's how quickly people view different fighters. Winning changes everything. So would it be an awful 3 weeks on social media for Ilia Topuria? Sure, but he could dry his eyes with $100 bills, and I think he'll be okay with that. So, yeah, I don't think it hurts it too much. Day after the fight, be pretty awful.
Yeah, and then also there's the fact that he can always go back to 145. He would always have an immediate title shot if he goes back to 145. But that's if he chooses to go back. If what he's saying is true about him being so heavy, then I doubt he would want to go back. But that's another option he has.
Hmm. How can he be so heavy, man? We've seen this guy in person, right? He's like, compared to Charles Oliveira, he's tiny, right? Anyway, whatever. Makes
Yeah, I
sense.
mean, I'm 183, 182 right now, so I don't know how this guy says he's 187 out of camp. I mean, even out of camp, and I'm not in good shape. 87 is what I weigh normally. So if he's that big, that's heavy. Yeah.
Hold on, is this a little bit of news here? You're in camp, Benny. How are we looking, man? We got anything signed yet? We were looking at June, right? We were looking at Moicano.
Yeah. So
cooking?
I hope so. So I was told first I was told June is it 8th or 7th? I don't remember exactly. It's one of those days. The one with Merab.
Yeah, it's 7.
I was supposed to be on that card, and then they changed it the 28th. Is that the 28th? And then I'm just waiting on that. It doesn't seem like I'm getting a clear answer because I also got a call about possibly fighting Gamrot again, and I said sure we could do that again. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm just waiting on the other side to basically accept. I think that's where we're at. I don't know why things aren't moving forward.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Booked.
What's that? Sorry, Mikey.
Gamrot got booked.
He did get booked. So then that's why.
Yeah.
So that's why I was a little bit more confused. I was waiting for them to be like, all right, we're going to announce the Gamrot fight. And then it never happened. And then I saw that he was booked. So I was like, okay, so then I'm fighting more time. I'm kind of just waiting. I'm just like you guys. I know just as little as you do.
Far out, man. Well, we can't wait to see you return, dude. It's been a little bit of a road.
Bro,
back
it's
to
been
that
so
octagon.
long.
With
This keeps up. It's going to be 2 years.
And this and that. And gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's talk. Oh, by the way, just quickly, you mentioned that Merab card. Mikey, how is that main event looking? I saw some rumors about O'Malley being injured. Was that all for Gaethje? Is he still in that fight from what you know?
As far as I know, I mean, this is O'Malley. This could be O'Malley just doing stuff. It's very possible. Apparently, this photo of him on crutches came from his Snapchat. Like, that's what I was seeing, which to me, like, screams to me, people are saying, oh, you're making excuses for the Merab fight. You're making excuses for the hip injury or whatever he had. Maybe that's just him posting a photo of like, hey, here's me on crutches before I fought Merab in September. Like, it could be that. I don't know. But as far as I know, and if Sean O'Malley was out of this fight, be tough scenes because that card is like a month away. So that would be bad news. And you got to make a move real quick without Sean in the main event spot. So yeah, as far as I know, No news is good news.
Okay, cool. Because this weekend obviously we got Sandhagen and Figgy. They're going to mix it up in the main event, right? That's a fun fight right there, Beneil. You'll be excited to see that one.
Yeah, that is.
Who do you
That
reckon's
is
going
a
to pull out on that one? Who do you reckon's going to pull this one through? Who do you reckon's
I
going to
would
win?
I would definitely go with Sandhagen. I think he has more tools, and I think cardio matters too. I'm not saying Figueiredo doesn't have good cardio. It's just I think Sandhagen's better, and I think he's the pressure he apply. I got to train with him once. I didn't know he was supposed to be. He was going to be fighting. Peter Yan. And so he was just like lighting me up. I was like, bro, I thought this was supposed to be light sparring. And he was lighting me up. And I realized he has fantastic pressure for because normally you see him move around like side to side, but when he wants to go forward and create pressure, he's great at it. So I really think at some point he's gonna turn it into a pressure fight, and that's when he's gonna take over.
It's going to be a fascinating one. What do you think, Mike? Do you think Figgy could get it done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm picking him. I was looking at. I'm not like a bettor or anything. Like when we do the watch parties, I'll put like $5 bets on stuff just because it's fun and why the heck not. But Cory Sandhagen is like a minus 500 favorite. Like it's a crazy number. Like how big of a favorite he is. It's pretty wild. So yeah, I think he wins. I just think he's just so smart in there. And not saying that Figgy isn't, but Figgy's still a little undersized for the division. Sandhagen is long, he moves around great. He can mix things up really well. It's a chess game with that guy. And even the toughest opponents in that really great division, he can give problems to anybody on any given night. The one thing about Cory, though, is for some reason, and he's talked about it all week, he just can't get over that hump. He doesn't want to be known as the fighter who can't win the big one. And perhaps with what this division looks like right now, a win over Figueiredo puts him in a good spot to perhaps get the big one. So, yeah, I'd love to see Cory Sandhagen make his way to a title fight again, like an actual undisputed championship fight. Him and Merab, they have not fought each other, so it'd be a nice fresh matchup. So, yeah, I'm picking Sandhagen, but I just, as a fan of fights and taking all of the glitz and glamour of what we as fight fans expect, and as media members, the clicks and headlines and all that stuff, as just someone who wants to watch two guys fist fight for 25 minutes, this is outstanding. This is a terrific main event, and I'm very excited to watch it.
Yeah, especially now, because there's been some rough cards coming up, and we've got the big pay-per-view coming up this weekend, but next coming weekend. But yeah, a lot of the big fights kind of missing on a lot of the upcoming fight cards. This is a cool one. And another cool one, Benny, I just want to get your thoughts on before we move on, is this Nickal RDR fight, right? Nickal's back in there. I know Mike Heck has a lot of RDR thoughts. So I'm going to go to you after Benny. But Nickal, how far do you think, Beneil, he can go up the ladder? We're kind of starting to get to the point where we're starting to see where he's really at. Do you think he's able to dominate this weekend? And then do you believe he can contend for a title down the road?
I think he can definitely contend for a title. To be honest, I don't know much about RDR. I've seen a couple of fights of his. I know he can grapple, so I think that's going to make things interesting. But, Bo, his last fight, he didn't look dominant because he didn't use his best weapon, wrestling. I think if he chose to take, why am I forgetting his name right now? But if you want, is it Craig, right? He fought Paul Craig. If you want to take him down, he could definitely take him down. I just don't know why he chose not to. With that being said, I think he is going to implement takedowns this fight, and I think he's going to look pretty dominant. I think it's going to be more than likely it's going to be a decision win for him, but I think it'll be a dominant victory.
Can you fill him in on RDR, Mike? We'll break him down in a few words for Beneil.
He's like DDP without the brawling striking. He's just like, I love watching RDR fight. He's just a mess out there, but he's so effective with it. Like his striking is not to level of DDP, but there's so many similarities to the way they approach the fight game. Like RDR is just all gas, no brakes. It just tries to tackle people, and it's so fun. It is just an absolute collision. And then you got Nickal, who is, this collegiate wrestling legend, and he's trying to figure out his relationship with the fan base. They boo the Paul Craig fight. They want to see him go out there and get finishes, but he's also being smart and trying to go out there and just get wins because this is only his 8th pro fight. He's fighting a dude who's a 2-division champion in a major organization not that long ago. So, and RDR's a big middleweight. Like, he is a tank, man. He is an absolute weapon. And Bo Nickal, I actually talked to Bo Nickal about 2 hours ago, asked him about the weigh-in video where it said he weighed 222.6. He told me it's real, unless he's just a liar. He told me that's real, and he's in the middle of the biggest weight cut of his career right now. So
Bo weighs 220?
226, apparently.
No, 222. So he posted this video on his Instagram of him like fully clothed, and he stepped on a digital scale. It said 222.6. And then he got off and looked shocked, and everyone was like, oh, this is fake. I thought it was fake too. So I asked him about it, and he said it was legit. Said he lifted a bunch of weights and bulked up, but he was like, yeah, man, I cut weight all the time. It's like my 1,000th time cutting weight for something. So
holy crap.
No big deal. I'll make it. So,
Benny, from what you know, from what you've seen, is that like a record? Like, what's the most you've seen someone cut weight going into?
No, I mean,
what's the biggest? What do you
what
remember
is it
as
from?
the biggest?
Well, how much is from 220? You said 220 to 185, right? That's
so
about.
I'll say like if he didn't have what he was wearing on, I would say he was probably like 215. So he's probably got 28 to 30, which is
which is
like that's.
I mean, that's me. If I'm not cutting weight, if I'm just hanging out, I'm about 185. So that's no different than me. But yeah, that's a lot for Bo. From my understanding, he was always closer to weight, and he could make weight a lot quicker. I'm obviously a lot older than him, so I just hold on to weight a lot more than he does. We'll see how it goes, because sometimes guys who gain weight do really well with that, and then some guys don't. Because, for example, if you gain weight and you have more muscle, you have more water to lose, and then on fight day you get to keep that muscle. You know what I mean? But then some guys just get fat, and then it doesn't really translate the same way. You don't lose water weight from fat.
Yeah, it's gonna be fascinating, man. I mean, I know it's just funny because if RDR goes out there, Mike, and like beats Bo Nickal, we got to start talking about, all right, what's going to happen with RDR in this division, right? Like, this is going to be a fun win for him. It's cool to see both guys get this matchup. It's fun matchmaking. Let's go back to 170 though, because we were just talking about JDM and Belal, right? This is going to be wild because if JDM wins this, I'm already seeing people say, well, we're going to do a pay-per-view in Australia, which wouldn't make sense if Islam's fighting him. You got all these people trying to get into a contender position. You got Ian Garry, he's the backup. But the big question is, can JDM do it? Mike, have you watched much tape yet? Have you done all your study and decisions on this one? Who do you think JDM could shock the world and beat Belal here?
I mean, could he? Sure. I mean, he's a very good fighter. I am not picking him to do that. Belal's is really good, man. Like, people, for some reason, they just don't like him. So they always will pick against him. And maybe Belal's style is not the most, especially to the newer fan that the UFC is really trying to attract, maybe not the friendliest style to the fans who love the power slap and just all out chaos in there. What Belal does is very, very effective. And the tape that I keep going back to watch about JDM, the Basel Efes fight was one of them. And the other one was the Gilbert Burns fight. And he struggled in both of those. He struggled in both of those fights. Now, he did come back and finish Gilbert. Gilbert just kind of gassed out a little bit and took his foot off the gas. And you can't do that with a guy like Jack Della Maddalena, because the man hits really, really hard and he's got nasty elbows and he punches very hard. But I just don't think Belal's going to slow down, man. Like, what he does is so effective. You cannot breathe in there. And the Sean Brady win, to me, was so impressive, especially with what we've seen Sean do since. And I know Sean has learned a ton from that, but golly, man, he beat the hell out of Sean Brady. And we just saw what Sean Brady did to Leon Edwards. Just manhandled him, just bopped him around. And Belal was not only beating him, he was pushing him around. Like, Belal is just incredibly underrated and just does not get the respect he deserves for whatever reason. And I just think Belal's a tough matchup for pretty much everybody at 170, JDM especially. But you never know, man. Maybe JDM just lands a big shot and Belal's been knocked out before, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening, man. That's the UFC right now. It's not always the number one contender gets a title shot. Availability is your best ability right now. If you're in the top 5 and that phone rings and you are needed, better say yes, man, because you may not get another one. JDM is ready, gets a big opportunity. We'll see if he could do it. It'd be massive change. Like, what a hiccup this would be for the welterweight division and the lightweight division if JDM can get this done. So I think the cooler outcome, the more chaotic outcome is JDM winning, but the more realistic outcome is Belal winning, I think.
Availability is your best ability. That is the mantra that I used in college with the ladies. Beneil, take a look at this footage right here. My good friend Oscar Willis from the Mac Life shared this. Look at this. JDM putting Craig Jones to sleep. Look at this. Can you see this, Beneil?
Yeah.
So they're over here training. I mean, whoever's trained for a while has always been in these positions when you're drilling or putting something in between, you'll go out. I've gone out a few times. So look at that. Craig Jones.
Yeah. So
this is real.
I mean, knowing Craig, he's from Melbourne, and I've been around him a little bit. You never know what's real and what's fake. But let's
I've trained with Craig. He's fantastic. He's a great grappler. Like, he's everything he as far as grappling goes, he's as good as you get. I don't know if that's like situational training where he started with the Dars or if he got the Dars. I didn't see the whole training, so it's hard to say. The thing I could tell you, I've trained also with Belal. I only got to train with him once, but I remember what he does really well is he doesn't make mistakes. And I think this kind of goes back to what Mike was saying. He just doesn't make any mistakes, and his pressure is fantastic. I remember just going with it, and I'm thinking to myself, this is like, I could deal with A, B, and C, but I can't continue to deal with A, B, and C over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean? That was what it felt like training with him. So I went with him 5 minutes. I was like, crap, I need a break. So I was like, I need a break. I remember like asking my manager, all right, Ollie, let's go. I'll go with you next. And then I went back and I rolled with him again. He's really good. And I think that's what's going to set it apart. His pace is unbelievable. He might have the best cardio in all of the divisions, not just the welterweight. And I know Merab is definitely a contender for that, but I just remember thinking to myself, man, I must be really out of shape. And I was kind of out of shape, but I wasn't that bad. I was really impressed with his pace. It absolutely stood out more than anything else. But his skills, he's very good, like you said. He doesn't. I just don't, unless, like you said, if it's a lucky, not a lucky punch, but if it's like a knockout punch somehow ends up landing, that's the only way I see him losing. I don't see him losing with the submissions, and I don't see him losing with the decision.
It's going to be very fascinating because obviously, JDM, he's been working hard with Alex Volkanovski and Craig Jones. Going into this camp, I spoke to Joe Lopez, who said apparently he's been hard to hold down, take down. But like he said, Beneil, it's a different level with Belal. And I was speaking to Belal a few days ago. He keeps insisting that he's going to be using his Canelo hands on JDM in this fight. Beneil, is he telling the truth here, or do you imagine he's going to try and test a takedown towards the start, get JDM up against that fence, start using those veteran sneaky skills, and drag the life out of him with a bit of a domination over the last few rounds?
Like, as a coach, I'm stressing out and sweating just hearing that. if I was his coach and he's like, no, I'm going to do that, I'll be honest with you guys, I'd be pretty stressed. I'm not saying don't strike with JDM, but I would say use the whole mix-up game plan. Mix it up. Put a lot of pressure. Go for a few takedowns. You probably land one or two. He might get up, but once you do that, then you can start your striking. Because once you do that, your opponent is so much more hesitant, and striking is like milliseconds. So that little bit of hesitancy can make a world-class guy look average, and while you may be not world-class, it'll make you look world-class. Not that I'm saying Belal is not world-class. He's got the Canelo hands. I'm just saying play it smart.
Well, it's fascinating because JDM, you could make the argument that he's got some of the best boxing in the welterweight division. When you watch back his footage, it's fascinating because the stance that he takes and the guard that he has is very boxing orientated, and the success that he's been able to have with these one shots, like unbelievable. But Mike, I know that Ian Garry was irate that he didn't get this title shot. Let's say Ian Garry and JDM were fighting each other. Who do you think would win that fight? Who do you think would win in a matchup between those two?
It's a tough one. It's a
I
tough
could-
one because Ian is a little chinny. Like, it's not that he has a bad chin and that he gets knocked out, but he
doesn't like.
chinny.
He doesn't enjoy being in those exchanges.
Yeah, it's not like I don't watch Ian get hit and I'm like overly concerned about it because he is able to bounce back relatively quickly, but man, like the higher you go up in the division, the heavier the hitters. So JDM could catch him, man. Like it's possible, but if he doesn't, like if again, I feel like we're saying this about every JDM fight at this point. Ian's just so good, man. Like his movement is unbelievable. Ian just will he'll get a little too into himself. He'll get a little too confident. And then that's where the mistakes come. And boy, it's tough. I would pick Garry to win, but I would be like, if I was betting my mortgage on Ian Garry, I would be sitting on my hands, very nervous about that pick because Garry can get hit. And when he gets hit, he goes down. And JDM he's got that instinct. He doesn't soften the blow. Like we saw what Pratis did, was maybe 3 punches away from getting him out of there on Saturday. I don't think JDM's going to make that mistake. Look what he did to Gilbert Burns. Like he just pounced and kept landing those elbows, and it got it actually scary to watch if you're a fan of Gilbert because he was taking so much punishment because that's what JDM does if he has you hurt. So I would pick Ian, but I would say 55-45 in that fight.
What do you think, Beneil?
Similar thoughts. I think just Ian has more tools, and he really did show him this last fight. You know, he's very evasive. He doesn't take damage until the last round, at least. He's able to go for takedowns. He went for a ton of takedowns. He shot it a bunch of times. He seems to have excellent conditioning. He was able to do that throughout the whole fight, where he's able to maneuver, strike, fake, and then go for takedowns. You know, constantly repeating that cycle. That takes a lot of energy, and he did it with no problem. So I would definitely go with him, but I would say JDM definitely has more than a puncher's chance. It's not one of those things. If he lands, I think he will land. So it would be a really good fight. I think that would actually be. I would much rather watch that fight than him and Belal. Let's just put it that way.
It's interesting because JDM's one of those guys you could tell like he just loves getting in the pocket and just getting in a war. And Ian Garry's one of those fights that strategically can win a fight, but doesn't like what we just kind of spoke about.
Yeah.
He doesn't love getting hit, doesn't love getting in those positions. What did you make? But what did you make of that last round though, Beneil, when you saw Pratis being able to do that? Because to me, it was almost like a Leon Edwards type Nate Diaz moment where it was like he did so well in that whole fight. And then those last couple of rounds, especially that finish, it kind of took some of the air away for me from that performance.
So this is the problem with being a evasive fighter who is looking to, you know, kind of build up momentum and score points, right? Because you could lose it all in 1 second, and that's kind of what happens. When you're a pressure fighter, you're just looking to do a lot of damage, which is what Pratis is. He's not really looking to win rounds. He's looking to hurt you. He could lose 3 rounds and then knock you out in the 4th, and that's what we saw there. It just what happened was Ian Garry, he probably got a little bit more tired than he expected, and you know, focus goes down, and Pratis was able to catch him. That being said, Pratis, bro, we really don't know his capabilities. He might be way better than we think. It's just Ian performed so well that it made him look not so good.
Loves to have a smoke, a drink, and go out there and put on a performance. I was impressed. I'm like, whoa, man, 5th round and this guy's still going.
He's got no issues with cardio. He didn't have any issues with cardio, so it's like I can't I can't talk
Well,
smack
maybe
about his smoking.
are we all going to start smoking now? Is this guy like, is this cigarette company just paying this guy money? Is he like a subliminal, like, smoking
I was
campaign? Like,
there.
smoke, smoke.
So I cornered Giga.
That's
He was
right. You
smoking.
were there. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
he was smoking the week of the fight. I saw him outside like smoking, and my teammates saw him, and I was just like, bro, this guy's not gonna make it to the third round, and there you go. In the fifth round, he just pours it on.
Yeah, well, just while you're talking about that, Benil, who's fighting next for the title? Because Mike, I know you broke down a little bit about Ian Garry trying to, he's the backup here, but there's a bunch of contenders. I want to know from you, Benil. We've got Buckley fighting, obviously Usman. We got Sean Brady in the division. Who do you think is next for the belt if Islam doesn't move up and fight JDM, and if Belal wins this next weekend?
I don't think they're gonna give it to Shavkat since he got injured, which I think they should. Yeah, they should, but I don't think he'll get it. So with that being said, I think if Usman wins, he's number one contender. If he beats Buckley, just because I think the UFC loves him. He's fought everybody. He's fought all the big names, and if he's able to win, they would love to put him back in title contention. With that being said, let's see if Buckley wins, then
some weird stuff with Buckley during fight week, last week.
Yeah,
the whole thing with the wife, this whole all those press conferences, Mike.
Yeah, I think if Buckley wins, then Ian's gonna be the number one contender.
Really?
Yes.
Over the shove card, over the Brady. What do you think, Mike?
Ooh, I forgot about Brady.
So this is going to be, it's just, again, a super weird situation right now because I just don't I know Dana White said Gary's the backup but dude, he got thumped up in that fight. Brandon Fitzgerald on the broadcast is he's got some swelling on his forearm. We don't know how banged up Ian is. I don't know if he's going to be able to be the backup fighter and weigh in successfully. Who the hell knows? So that's one thing to keep in mind. And just because you're the backup doesn't guarantee you anything. Ask Mateusz Gamrot when his freaking title shot is coming because he weighed in as a backup for a title fight and he still hasn't gotten his title shot. So let's just throw that out there. In fact, they brought in somebody else after they announced he would be the backup fighter. They brought Volkanovski in to fight again while they had a backup in place. So that doesn't always guarantee you anything. So what I think will end up happening is I will go with the assumption that Belal wins. Usman and Buckley will fight, and then Ian Gary's going to fight Sean Brady. They're just going to be essentially a 4-man tournament, and it's not even a tournament. It could end up being a tournament. Shavkat right now is the leader in the clubhouse. But if Buckley goes out and wins a 48-47 workman-like decision against Kamaru Usman, Shavkat will still be the leader in the clubhouse. And then we go to Gary versus Brady. One of those dudes just mauls the other. That guy jumps over Shavkat. But if it's just another tepid sort of 48-47 hard, gritty fight that doesn't get fight of the night, Shavkat gets in there. But again, you have 5 guys right now who all have a case for a title fight. It's just going to be whenever they need a fight. If they need Belal to fight in September and Belal's yeah, man, I'll fight in September. If none of those other guys are ready, but Kamaru Usman's getting a title shot. That's just how it is right now. And I'm so glad Kamaru Usman is fighting because the champ fights irk me, but a guy, and I mean this with the most respect possible because Kamaru Usman is the second greatest welterweight of all time. You could not give a guy a title shot who hasn't won a fight in 4 years. You cannot, unless you're Stipe Miocic and it's John Jones, but you cannot give a guy a title shot who has lost 3 fights in a row. And I understand the circumstances are weird. Head kick knockout in the last seconds against Leon Edwards. Then you lost to Leon, and then you stepped up and you did the UFC a big favor fighting Khamzat Chimaev, and you gave Khamzat a hell of a fight.
Yeah, that's aged well.
But you can't. Yeah. But there was all this talk of it's Shavkat or Usman. I'm what do you mean Shavkat or Usman? Usman's got to get a win. So, and I honestly think this worked out great for Usman. I'm not saying Buckley is an easy fight, but of all the options that were standing in front of Kamaru Usman, from a stylistic perspective, I think he matches up best with Joaquin Buckley. He might lose. In fact, I think I'm going to pick Buckley obviously have to lean into this more, but Usman can win this fight. And if he does, like Beneil said, there is a very real world where the UFC is just like, forget it. Like, we love a comeback story. Love to see this guy get another crack at the belt. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Welterweight is wild right now.
I love that. You know what else I'd love, though? An Ian Gary, Leon Edwards fight. Potentially next. Because we don't know where Leon Edwards is at. He's still ranked number 3. They have had this, I don't know if he's ranked number 3 still, but they've had this beef with their gym where he got thrown out of his gym. There's this like back and forth about what really happened. And, you know, if you're trying to build Ian Gary and you're the UFC, do you just use like Leon Edwards to see where he's really at? No?
No.
I would go Brady.
You
Yeah.
guys are a bunch of sickos. That's the problem. That's the real problem with you guys.
Do you want to know who Leon Edwards is going to fight next?
Okay, give it to me.
If Michael Morales beats Gilbert Burns next week, and if he does, it's going to be nasty. You feed Leon to Michael Morales. I mean, that's just what it is right now. Like Leon getting to the belt is an incredible story. Like it really is. But now that he's lost the belt, they're never giving him another title fight, especially after what happened in the Brady fight. So he is unfortunately in that weird position now where he's going to be the high level. I hate gatekeeper, so I'm not going to say that. He's the high level litmus test. And welterweight's got so many levels of that right now. It's like, all right, you're the 19th best welterweight. You fight Neil Magny. Okay, you beat Neil Magny. Now you're going to fight Jeff Neal. Now you beat Jeff Neal. Now you're going to fight Leon Edwards. Like, that's just where Leon stands. It's just like, yo, if you beat Leon, you're probably a win away from a title shot. And that's unfortunately where Leon is at the moment.
I would also add Colby to that list, but I would put Colby in between Leon and Jeff Neal.
What about Jose Masvidal? Well, I like the Masvidal. If we're doing that to Edwards, let's just do the Masvidal fight, Mike.
Well,
That's
headline. Please, thank you.
Something.
What am I talking about? Forget everything I just said. You are 100% right.
Yeah, Masvidal fight makes a lot of sense.
What are we doing here? Yeah,
let's just do it. Well, I like before it's all said and done. Let's just get that fight happening. Let's have a fun. Like we have no fights at the moment. They don't need to fight for that. Let's just make it happen. Let's just sign him. He said he's happy to do it. He told me. Masvidal said he's ready to go. He's happy to do it. The UFC just need to give him whatever the amount of money is. But that's a fun headliner for like UK fight night.
Yeah, if you do that in the UK, it would be big. UK would
it'd be incredible. But unfortunately, like I think this would be MVP Paul Daly too, where like the build would be incredible, and then the bell has to ring, and I don't think it's gonna be like the most action-packed affair.
I don't know if like Masvidal does well with counter strikers. I think actually counter strikers are a better matchup for Masvidal. He doesn't do great with pressure fighters because he's always gassed out. He's always run a little, starts to slow down. But if he had good gas tank, striking wise, Masvidal, in my opinion, was one of the best strikers at welterweight at one point.
Yeah, for sure. Just quickly before we get, by the way, guys, we're going to go into our top 3 Star Wars in a second. So make sure you chuck your favorites in there and worst as well. But Benil, before we move on to that, let's say Islam Makhachev does go over to 170, right? I've asked a few people this question. I want to get your thoughts. Is he as dominant at welterweight as he has been at lightweight, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I definitely don't think so. Unless the weight cuts have been so brutal for him that they've been actually like holding him back. But I think he would really struggle at 170. The size difference, their power, it makes a big difference. Like technique can cover so much, but when there's that big of a size difference, I think he'll struggle.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, as you know, Mike, you disagree? You think there's going to be a domination? I saw a little.
No, like it's so tough to say.
Mike gets a little squinty when he disagrees with people.
Yeah.
It's because I'm listening to Beneil and I'm thinking about all the different guys he could fight. Like if he fought JDM, I think Islam will do horrible things to him. Like I think he'll just chuck him around, and there's just if Basil Hafez can hold you down for 15 minutes, Islam's gonna do just awful things to you. Like he's a big guy where he could carry that welterweight weight and look like a welterweight. But if you fight Sean Brady, that's a different ball game right there. Because Sean Brady is built like Sean Brady. I remember talking. I don't know if it's Jeremiah Wells or somebody else, and they're like Sean Brady like moves like a welterweight, but he grapples like a heavyweight. He is the strength of a heavyweight when it comes to the grappling. If he locks hands on you, you're going. I don't care who you are. It was like the Khabib factor. When Khabib had you in any sort of body control, if he locked his fingers together, like you were flying in the air. There's no avoiding it. You were going down. And that's how everyone describes Sean Brady right now. When he gets a hold of you, he's just a brute. And that would be a really interesting fight because Islam is strong. Like dude is super strong, but Brady is a bull. And that would be a tough fight for Islam. I think honestly, that might be the toughest fight in the division for him stylistically is Brady.
That's interesting because have you trained with Islam, Beneil?
No, I've never trained with Islam.
Okay. Everyone thinks that Islam would kind of beat Belal. That's kind of like the notion out there. But I wonder, I do wonder sometimes how a Belal Islam fight looks, just because Belal is so good at what he does.
Yeah, I don't know about that because I'm maybe in training he can get the better of Belal, but a fight is a whole different thing, especially with the way Belal fights. He's he doesn't need to make fights exciting, and he knows how to win. I don't know. I think Belal will be a very difficult fight if that was the fight. But I would also say a guy like Shavkat would be really difficult for Makhachev. Just looking at his style, looking at his size, it's it makes life hard when you got a guy who's like 6'2", 6'3", and you're grabbing onto his leg. It's a pain in the butt. I at least for me when I train with taller guys.
I'd like to see
how strong is Belal, Beneil? Like when you
how strong
is he?
He felt really physically strong. One thing I noticed that I really struggle with, like one time he had me against the wall. I was like, man, I'm having a really hard time getting off the wall. I'm typically good at it, and so I realized, guys he has against the wall are trying to get out. They just can't, and so they're like, I rather just lose the fight little by little and not be tired instead of risking it. You know what I mean? I'm telling you guys, it's not just that his physical strength. He's very technical too. He doesn't make mistakes.
I would love to see him and Islam fight, actually. It's a bummer that I understand that they're teammates and friends, but I just think it's like, you can put that aside and fight and there's no issue with that. But before that, we all want to see Ilia Topuria versus Islam, right? We've got to get that fight done. Just watch that for a bit of fun, and then let's get Islam over to welterweight. Hey, let's talk about our top 3 Star Wars picks. Mike Heck, I want to go with your number 3 best Star Wars movie. Sir, please make the case for me, Beneil, his daughter, and the people watching out there.
So, like, let me just throw this out there. I'm not like the biggest Star Wars guy. Like, I watched them all, but I wasn't like the dude. So, and I'm the oldest one here. I'm the oldest man in the building. So,
what do you mean?
Mr. You look younger than me. How old are you?
42.
Oh, okay. You're older than me for sure.
Hey,
you just look younger.
I thought this guy was in his 20s my whole life.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is 1 day older than me.
Wow.
Wow, and both of you guys.
Small world. Right. And thank you for the kind words.
And by the way, none of us are Star Wars guys. I messaged Beneil and he's like, wow, it's been a minute. I'm not a big Star Wars guy, so this is going to be a very controversial list.
Yeah, because if you were going for like Star Wars talk, like call Grant Dawson. That dude will talk your ear up. But I'll go Return of the Jedi as my number 3. Like,
oh wow, it's a
theme. It's a theme here. I think you know where I'm going with 1 and 2, but yeah, the Return of the Jedi is number 3.
Okay, you got a reasoning behind that, Mikey? Is that just because you like the name of the movie, or?
Yeah, it's just like it's one of the better ones. It came out the year I was born, 1983. What a year! And yeah, I'll go with I'll go with that. Like the way I view it is like if I'm scrolling through, if I'm sick on the couch, because I'm not just gonna on a random day be like, oh, I want to watch TV. I have to watch Star Wars movie. Star Wars is like if I'm laid up, if I'm sick or something, and I just like want to lay down.
Yep.
And if I'm scrolling through, I'm like, what's the first one I'm picking? Okay, this one. What's the second one I'm picking? This one. Okay, Return of the Jedi would be the 3rd choice.
I love it, man. Very strong start to your top 3. What about you, Beneil? Break it down for us. You're not a Star Wars guy either, but we all have a little Star Wars.
I might be a little bit more Star Wars than this than Mike. Okay, so I came to America. Okay, relax, Alba, relax. I came to America in I think it was 98, and like end of 98, and like in 99 the first movie I ever saw was The Phantom Menace.
Hey.
So that's my like the first movie I ever watched in the theaters, and I remember going with my cousin. His name is, we call him Wink, but his name is William, and like he loves movies. He's a big movie guy, right? And he was like, it was whatever. He didn't really like it, but I remember thinking to myself, that's the best thing I've ever seen in my life, because every other movie I had ever seen was on a small TV, right? So I love that movie, and I'm gonna put that as my number three.
Dude, that's a great pick right there. And by the way, for most people out there, that movie is one of the worst Star Wars movies of all time.
Yes.
But I have a similar experience because that is my number 3 as well. I love episode 1, man. Darth Maul, the lightsaber scene, the pod racing. There's so many great moments. Maybe not Jar Jar Binks, but I feel like that movie has a lot of iconic moments. I feel like Liam Neeson is a Jedi. Do we talk about the fact that he's a great Jedi, great Obi-Wan Kenobi? I got to put that as my number 3. For me, Mike and Beneil, it was a similar situation too. It was one of those ones where I got to go to the theater and experience it. And I think it's different, right? Because if you get to watch a movie for the first time in the cinema versus the re-releases of the original 3, I think it kind of captivates you. And I think there's some weird stuff there. Great looking Natalie Portman. That's my number 3 as well. So Beneil, you and me are both on the same page, my friend.
Yeah. And I know
Mike
it's one of the worst. Yeah, it's definitely one of the worst.
For us, it's one of the best. All right, Mike, hit us with your number 2.
I mean, you know where we're going with this. We're gonna go. I was.
Is
torn.
it Empire? Is it Empire?
Empire's number 1.
Okay. Oh, you gotta tell us now.
Okay. I mean, you know where I'm going. Once again,
all right, you come back. We'll come back to number 1. All right, tell us number 2.
Yeah, it's New Hope, baby. Episode 4. The OG. It started it all. It's a classic.
Yeah,
it changed cinema. It changed the world when it comes to that. Like hearing, obviously I wasn't born for this, but hearing like my oldest brother tell me the tale of like standing in, and this wasn't like you could just go online and order tickets 3 weeks in advance. No. You had to stand in line like you were getting Rolling Stones concert tickets, and you had to hope and pray that you got to that ticket booth in time to get tickets to see this film. And people were all dressed up and they were so fired up, like just such a positive thing for a movie, which is just not what the world is today. So yeah, May 25th, 1977, the world changed, the cinematic world changed. And yeah, it's the OG, baby. Number 2. You know, it's great, but it's not as good as the second one.
When they were shooting that movie, apparently people were like making fun of Lucas on the set, and people were like, what the hell is this crap? And then like when it was coming out, the studios didn't think it was going to do well. And then they were driving by and they saw the lines of people lining up to do it. And they're like, holy crap, we've got a hit on our hands. It's one of those kind of Rocky stories, right? That ended up redefining cinema. And I wonder if, Beneil, you have one of the original 3 for your number 2.
Yes, I do. My number 2 is Empire Strikes Back for sure.
Hey, Empire Strikes Back. Break it down for me. What's your case for this being your number 2?
I think the way like the cliffhanger. I like the fact that Luke Skywalker isn't just this badass who just jumps in and he starts like winning all the time. He has to go through that training phase. Like all these things that are required, where you don't just have a OP character. The build up, the romance between Han Solo and Princess Leia. It just, bro, like they did it really well, because the new ones are basically, they're telling the same story all again. They just kind of ruined it.
Yeah, we're going to get to the worst ones in a sec, man. But you know what? This is weird, dude, because number 2 is actually, Empire Strikes Back is actually my number 2. So I feel like I'm plagiarizing here. But I got to say that with this one, I also love the way that it starts, right? Out there, the scenery, getting it, slicing open that whatever thing, getting in there, doing the whole thing. I think the scenery kind of stuck with me. And I remember when I was younger, that was for some reason my go-to Star Wars movie. Like the first one was a little too slow. The last one was like, it was kind of too conclusive, but that middle one was that one where it was like, You didn't know what was going to happen. The story was kind of in an exciting place. Not everything was answered. It had the cool sort of scenery and things.
The
and
Hangover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's my number 2 as well. Mikey, talk to us about why this is your number 1. Why are we wrong? Why are we wrong?
This is because this is a masterpiece, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
It's so good because the first one is so well done and it like sets the tone. And you go in to watch the second one. I mean, I know they're ordered differently, but to me, it's the second one because it's the second one that came out. But it's got all the cool stuff from the first, but it's like turned up to 100. Like even like the emotion behind it, like the action scenes are way better. One of the most iconic film quotes of all time, Luke, I am your father, is part of this movie. Like the big reveal, and you're just like, what? What the hell just happened here? Like everything about it is just so good. It's just so well done. And people ask all the time, like, name a time where a sequel is better than the original. And you go to Bad Boys 2, and you go to Rush Hour 2, and you go to some of these other ones. But you can't forget The Empire Strikes Back, baby. It was so good.
Right up there
like
with
it's just
Terminator
so damn
2,
good.
right? That's going to be
Terminator
right up there
2.
with
Yeah. It's just incredibly well done.
I'll tell you, man. I think you're on the ball there. That might be one of the most iconic lines, the Luke, I am your father line. That's really sort of, I mean, we're still saying it to this day. But there are some movies that Star Wars weren't really able to capitalize on. There have been some bad ones too, fellas. I know, Benil, you just mentioned some really bad ones. By the way, did we miss anything? Are there any notable mentions that didn't make it into the top 3 that you guys really like?
Did you guys give your top number 1s yet?
We didn't.
Oh, no, we didn't. Shit. All right, Benil, number 1.
Obviously, it's going to be Return of the Jedi, just because.
Me too.
You know, I want a character that's so OP, like Luke is in this. But it takes time. You know, I don't know if you guys have heard of One Punch Man, but the whole point of it like makes fun of all the other comics and animes because the guy just shows up and he's just overpowered. I like the fact that, you know, Luke, it took him a long time to get to that point. And then once he gets to that point, you know, you can really see him like saving everybody and being that Messiah figure in the show. So I like that aspect of it a lot. But I do agree you could put Empire as number 1, Empire Strikes Back as number 1. The way it ends on a cliffhanger, the fact that like right before he's about to be turned into stone, Princess Leia says I love you and he just says I know. Like it's so badass for sure. But I like what they did with Luke for the Return of the Jedi. That's why it's my number 1.
Yeah, it's like that with me as well. For some reason, Mike, when I watch it, I have to watch it in the way that it's made. Like I have to watch the first one, the second one, and then the third one. And I got to say, I love the way that they were able to tie everything up in that third one, right? Like you would think mostly there would be disappointment. Now these days when we watch a trilogy, the third one is so bad, right? Like I can't remember the last time we had a trilogy that was decent. And this way they were able to do it so well. And they kind of didn't do it in a hokey way. And that's weird to say that because it was done back in the day. But these, like when we look at, we're going to talk, I'm sure, about the latest series and all that, but they were able to do it in a classy way that really sort of satisfies you. Do we miss any notable mentions, by the way? Do you guys have any notable mentions that didn't make it into your top 3? I got a couple here. Benil, you're going to hate this, but I actually like The Force Awakens.
Really?
I was like, yeah, I thought this was I like the whole stormtrooper angle. Like it was kind of like different. And it was like an exciting new thing where it was like, all right, this is a little bit like it started off different. And then we got to see some old characters. It's kind of
cool. It's got that nostalgia. I'll give you that, but I'll tell you why I hate it in a second.
Okay. Might be that there's a little
which one I would put in the notable mentions? I don't know. Honestly,
anything episode 3 maybe? Nah, that was shit.
The Last Jedi, like I thought about it because it just basically like
you were gonna take it out of your top 3?
He doesn't have it in his top 3, or does he?
No, I don't have it in my top. The Last Jedi is not in my top 3.
Oh, The Last Jedi. Sorry, that's episode. No. That's episode 3.
But I thought about it because like I wanted to be. I don't know if hipster is the right word, but like that movie just kind of poo-poos on everything that Star Wars was basically based off of. They basically they introduce this character, they introduce this powerhouse Rey, and you're just waiting for this like reveal of like who brought her, why is she here, and it's just like No one. No one. She has no parents. She has no this. She has no that. She's just like on her own. And then she kills Luke Skywalker. And we're just like, what? What is happening here? It's like if a bunch of dudes just like sat around and did a bunch of hallucinogenic drugs and like, let's just write a Star Wars movie. And it's like, that's what would have come out of it. Well written, but it's just so weird based on the rest of the story. It's just so out of the box that
it's just
but it's
sad
still
where it
in a
ended
way
up.
where it makes sense.
Yeah. It's sad where it ended up though when you go from Force Awakens to that. You're like, how the hell did you guys turn the story into this? Like there's a whole bunch of stupid plot holes. I was eating popcorn when I was watching that movie, guys, in New Zealand, my partner's hometown. One of my back teeth broke when I was watching it. How about that?
That bad.
And it was like this regional town in New Zealand, and I had to put my tooth back together with some kind of like, like putty thing. And then I found out it was going to cost a couple of grand to fix it. So I still haven't fixed it. So it just breaks from time to time. And that's my memory of that movie. As we go into the bottom three, the worst of all time, Mike, heck, hit us with your number 3, my friend.
Attack of the Clones is my number 3 worst. I think that just kind of speaks for itself. I don't think I need to give a real big description about it. It's just
God, it's so bad.
It's
right?
so fake. Like it's just so
bad.
fake.
It's just a bunch of Aussie and Kiwi actors. You're like, what the hell happened? Like
my 12-year-old, his video editing, if I gave him 6 hours to redo Attack of the Clones, he would do it better. Like he would make it
lightsaber for Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, it's just
like you guys are destroying everything here.
Yeah, it's the middle child of the Star Wars series. It's just like no identity. You're trying too hard to get noticed, but in the end, nobody cares because you're not the oldest and you're not the youngest. So you're just there.
Is the Anakin thing with Natalie Portman weird because he's like a child in episode 1 and
yes,
yeah, he's like with her and you're like, wait a minute, like. She's like growing up at episode. She looked like she was growing up at episode 1, and she's like around this child.
You guys know maybe you guys don't know it that well, but the Clone Wars, like the anime or cartoon or whatever, that was actually really sick. They did a really good job with that, but for whatever reason, Clone Wars was very lame.
What was your bottom 3? What was your number 3?
What's the one after A New Hope? My brain's anything with the. Just they were just awful to me. The last 3. You could just interchange those 3 and they'll take over. But yeah, I would say the one after New Hope is the one I'm thinking about. I can't even remember the name of for whatever reason.
The second new one.
Yeah, the second new one.
That's the one where that's where like Luke comes back, right? There's a ghost.
Yeah,
yeah.
He comes back. No, he comes back not as a ghost. I think he's
that's
like
the third one. He's a ghost. Yeah. So
yeah. There you go.
What about you, Mike? What do you think? Because for me, number 3 is what I mean. These are all bad, but I can't believe you guys haven't mentioned Rogue One. Like Rogue One, did you guys watch that? The spin-off movie. I watched that and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is like, why is like it was fine, but it was like a little side franchise off Star Wars with no real meaning to me, or just like it just felt like I just wasted my time.
I didn't even know we can count that as a as
can
part
count
of
it, baby. It's in.
It counts. I didn't even count it, to be honest. I looked at it and I was like, I'm not even because. Never mind. I just realized that there's so much worse that I could do than what I just said.
Oh, there were some bad ones, Mike. Number 2.
Phantom Menace was number 2 for me.
Oh, you sick. You sick little.
Yeah.
How dare you say that?
I get it. I totally get it.
Neil first came to the country with his cousin, and he it changed him forever. He maybe wouldn't have been a UFC fighter if he didn't watch that lightsaber battle between Darth Vader and. Just go along with me, Beneil. And now look what you've done to him.
I know. And honestly, like I almost pulled it because Beneil's story. Honestly, I was just like, man, that's such a cool story. But it's just take that great feeling aside of, hey, this is my first movie I've ever seen, and then actually break down the actual film, and you're just like, wow, there's just so much going on here, and none of it is really all that interesting. So yeah, that got number 2 for me. But had I been in the same position as Beneil, if that was the first movie I've ever seen in the theaters, it would have been on the other side of the list, no doubt about it.
What about Darth Maul though? He's so good. He's so cool. He's got to be one of the coolest bad dudes, right? No,
Yeah, but I think people were like expecting more. You know what I mean? Like
Here we go.
we wanted more of like
Honestly,
we wanted the Vader. We wanted the
take out
Vader
Jar Jar
story as a
Binks.
child. Yeah, we wanted the child Vader story to be this like compelling story, and it just wasn't interesting at all. Like
Nintendo 64 pod racing game. Come on, guys. Come on. All right.
There's some like decent thing. It wasn't like the worst movie I've ever seen, but yeah, it just ends up there.
So Benil, I know this is like a rotating thing for you, but what would you say number one is now that you've heard all of us?
Oh, my number 2 is
Number two, sorry.
My number 2 is Clone Wars. I didn't really like Clone Wars, to be honest, either.
That's like it leaves you. I went to the cinema to watch that, and that like leaves you with like an empty feeling, right? Like, like what the hell did I even? I don't even ever watch this crap.
It just I don't know. It wasn't memorable. There wasn't a whole lot in it that I was like, oh, this is gonna stick with me or whatever. Nothing really stuck.
Yeah. I've got number 2. I got the Solo Star Wars story. Did you guys watch that crap?
Oh, the Han Solo thing?
Yeah. The
Oh.
movie Solo. Did you watch that, Mike?
See, you're just throwing stuff I haven't even thought about watching.
You got Childish Gambino playing Lando. Like they had things set up. Solo, one of the most loved characters from the series, and then you put out this crap to just make money. Like Disney's just trying to cash in, and this was the beginning of Disney starting to gradually lose money from the box office because they just kept putting crap out until people got disillusioned. Now we're like stuck with Snow White remakes that no one wants to go watch. So this was like the beginning of Disney just trying to completely cash in on it. It was just so disappointing. Mike, hit me with your number 1.
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
Really?
Killed me.
Wow.
Even more than episode 2, though?
That's wild.
Anakin Skywalker looked like the biggest idiot that has ever graced a movie screen. Just awful decision making. Like if he was a fighter, dude, like he would have.
He was like Carlos Prates in that last
man.
round. He was like Carlos Prates in that last round with Ian Gary. What are you doing? Finish him.
It was like Vitor Petrino fighting Anthony Smith. Hey, man, if you just don't try to take this guy down, you're going to beat him. And what does he do? He goes and takes him down, and then he gets gillied unconscious and loses his first fight and has not recovered since. So that's what Anakin Skywalker was in this movie. Just bad decision-making. He's taking advice from the wrong people, and nothing went his way because he didn't follow his heart. And that is what we all should do. And that is why that movie.
Wait, I thought he followed his heart. I thought the whole point was he followed his heart and not listened to his master. I'm so confused.
No, it's just I don't know. Like
for Mike, following his heart was just going to the,
Yeah, he knew he was going, but it was just like how he got there was ridiculous.
Yeah,
the kids and all that. It just wasn't. Great.
You know what? I like.
Not to mention visually, it's awful. Like it just looks so bad. It's so over CGI'd and just it's just not visually appealing. I get why people like it. I just watched it and was just like, this guy's an idiot.
I agree with one thing, like the progression of him, just his going down. It was too quick. Like he just goes like from killing some what do they call those, the guys that he killed when they killed his mom, I forget, but then he goes from killing the adults to killing the children too. It's like that was too quick.
That's like, it's okay now, you could just do that, and like
the progression was too quick. And then he goes and kills like baby Jedis or whatever you call them.
That was to me, it was just like, this is way too much. And
I agree with that.
I looked at it through a different lens of just like, I want to believe in the character and believe, like, try to get lost. And it's like why I watch pro wrestling. Like, I want to get lost in the goofiness, you know what I mean? But I also want to feel like, being in that place. It's like, I know it's not real, but I want to feel like it is. And I just didn't feel that way watching this film.
But imagine if The Rock showed up in that movie, episode 3. Wouldn't we all
it would have been
just
worse.
like WrestleMania 41?
Oh,
Rock never showed up.
Yeah, the only thing that was missing was Travis Scott not showing up in the movie, and
Travis
we're waiting
Scott
for
showing up
whoever
in
else.
episode 3 with a hardcore title as he turns bad. By the way, I don't know about Hayden Christensen as I don't know. He's a bit too whiny for me as well. Like, I like the kid that played that played him in the first one. He didn't do a bad job, but I don't know. Hayden Christensen, I don't know.
I think we just we have a love for Phantom Menace. I think most people don't get it, Dennis. It's okay, man.
Well, my first one is I'll go to you actually, Benny. What are we up to number one now? What is
Well,
your
I guess I want to split it since we are involving all these other randos. It would either be what is it, The Last Jedi or The Accolade, whatever. I mean, I couldn't even finish The Accolade. I started watching it and then I just stopped, so I don't even know. That's how bad it was.
Oh, the TV show over there. Man, they've had some bad ones, right? They've had some bad TV shows. Like the Obi-Wan one wasn't very good. This one was apparently not very good.
I would either go with the Last Jedi or one of those weird ones. I don't even consider them part of the actual story, but they are. So, but I guess the Last Jedi would be it for me.
I just got to go back. I mean, this is a boring one, but it's got to be episode 2. I don't know, Mike. Like, you can't say. At least number 3 was the end for me. Number 2, I felt empty inside, and like I just waste. Like, you could go from episode 1 to episode 3 basically, and it could just be like, on the last episode, the last movie of Star Wars, this is what happened, and just save me the 2 hours of episode 2 or whatever the amount of time that went for. So episode 2 is my number 1. Biggest joke. And also, me and Benil went to the cinema, Mike. We enjoyed ourselves so much for episode 1. Then imagine us coming back. I imagine Benil was there with his cousin once again. They were ready to go. He's like, this is the greatest experience I had in my life. And then they're like Krusty the Clown at the end of that Simpsons episode with a cigarette going, what the hell was that? So I think that
episode 2 is the Attack of the Clones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's stinky. Yeah, that was on my awful list.
Doesn't he? Do we miss anything else? Any notable mentions for terrible Star Wars things that we've missed?
I would just say the fact that like this random girl shows up and she's just OP from day one. That I think that's what ruined the whole franchise. Like, bro, you could do character development. You could have like you said, the New Hope or whatever was decent. It had a lot of possibilities because you're killing the old stars in order to make new stars. But like, where was the character development? She's just immediately just really good. She goes. I think she has a lightsaber with. I hate how I forget the characters' names, but she just right off the bat she's able to use a lightsaber no problem, and she's got the Force. Whatever. It annoyed me. It would have been cool to see because you can do big time skips in Star Wars. Would have been great to do like a 5, 6, 7 year time skip where she's just thrown into a harsh training whatever world and she's prepared for the thing instead of just being like, here you go, here's your superhero.
Hey man, in a world where it's like multi-dimensions in every single movie that comes out now, you could have just done whatever, right? But I'll say this, if you guys have a different thought on it, drop it in the comment section below under this video. Guys, that is it for Submission Radio Live, May 4th edition, even though it's not May 4th, it came a little early, like me back in the day. Mike Heck, thank you so much for joining me here on Submission Radio. Beneil Dariush, we can't wait for this fight announcement, my friend.
Me too.
There they are, MMA fighting, big MMA fighting, big things happening, BTL. What else is happening, Mike? You guys got the Freak Show fights video, which is really cool.
The Freak Show fight video is out. Shout out to Jed and AK.
Watch along for 315. You guys do a great watch party.
Yeah, watch party for 315. Bo Nickal interview dropping probably tomorrow in its entirety. Lots of fun stuff. We got some fun things in the works, which if they go through, I think the entire MMA community is going to be grateful and happy. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, thanks for being here. Beneil, good to see you again, my man.
But yeah, and I wonder what the thing is. Kings MMA Anaheim killing it as well while we wait for the fight.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thanks, bro.
Gotta remind you of your stuff. Take care, guys, and thank you for joining us on Submission Radio Live. May the force